It was really good. So I'm down in another city for a tournament right now at the moment for my son, but it's really good. It's nice. It's relaxing. I still stay busy on my phone and stuff, though, of course. I'm sure as everybody else.
Yeah, well, I bet you can't wait till the space is done and join the rest of the parents. I remember playing hockey, going to tournaments, and all the parents would get together in one hotel room and just party. So yeah, that'll be fun. I hope are you guys winning so far?
The last game was really rough. It was, I think, 7-5 we ended the game off with, but there was a lot of like really bad calling and stuff. There's actually too many men on the ice for part of the period, and then they ran down the clock, and they never gave a penalty for too many men on the ice, which was insane.
Oh yeah. And Dan, how's your Friday going, buddy? Or is it Saturday morning for you?
Saturday morning for me here. Unfortunately, I'm still in lockdown here in Shanghai, so not going that great. It's been in prison for 2 months here, so yeah, unfortunate.
Is
Yeah,
it?
I have a buddy down in Shanghai right now. He was in lockdown for 28 days. It's pretty crazy. So, but it'll be nice once it's done. It'll be nice once it's done. Go out and yeah.
Do you think you might travel a bit, Dan, afterwards, or?
Yeah, I'm headed to Okinawa for the Infinity Venture Summit, and yeah, just can't wait to kind of get out of Shanghai for a while. It's been pretty insane. I've never been locked down for so long, even at the very start of COVID. And nowadays, like now, they've started relaxing restrictions a little bit, but like the way they relax it is they let you go out once every 3 days for 2 hours. So it's kind of like yard time in prison.
That's crazy. So can you go to the airport right now and like get a flight out of China at the moment, or no?
It's pretty tough. There's like one a week basically, and it's usually fully booked, and then you have to get special permission from the government. So it's yeah, and then you have to book a private car that has been given like a special license to operate during this time.
I heard there's talk of lifting the
Hey,
restrictions there,
sorry,
though,
just a
which
sec
is good.
here, Scott. John just joined up. I just want to see, John, can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah, good
How's
guys.
it
How you
going today,
going?
John? Great, great. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, Scott. Just
No worries, no
doing a little
problem.
sound check. Cool. So I guess we're all here. All of our speakers are here. Unfortunately, YGG, Southeast Asia, SEA had a little issue, so they won't be able to co-host with us tonight. But that's no problem because we still got Big One, Scott, John, and Dan. So I'm really excited about this Twitter space today, you guys. This is the first one I fully organized and everything like that. So I'm really excited, and I'm really happy you guys are here to join here with me. But yeah, so before we get started, I just want to let everybody know, about this space. This isn't financial advice. Remember, always do your own research. And if you guys could retweet out the space, get all of your friends in here as possible, that'd be great. We have a really interesting topic tonight. So I'm co-hosted by Big One and YGGS Southeast Asia. Fortunately, they're not here today, but yeah, let's get started. Let's do some little introductions. Of course, I'm Alex, English Community Manager here at Footprint. And yeah, we're joined with Big One and Scott Tripp. Scott, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Big One?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm North America marketing lead for BigONE right now. So it's a cryptocurrency exchange. Their license is based out of the Netherlands. Of course, a lot of the team are spread out all over. We actually have offices in Brazil, offices in other countries as well, Singapore. Of course, we're here in the States. Well, I'm in Canada, Viben's in the US, so and our team is slowly building as well. And we're always out here, happy to help everyone and try and build that community that we always talk about in our group. So, yeah. And of course, I work with Andy Lynn. He's not here today, but maybe hopefully he might even drop by. You never know with Andy. He's kind of a mystery man, so sometimes he does hop in every once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Then next we're joined by John Nguyen. He's the CTO of Ninja Syndicate on behalf of Supremacy Gaming. John, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, John Nguyen from Australia. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Ninja Syndicate. We're one of the largest metaverse gaming companies in Australia, based on the west side. And I've got a background in industrial networks and control systems in the old days, but I've been in crypto for about 9-10 years now. Basically got into it when I was deployed to Ghana, West Africa, as a commissioning engineer, basically pre-Mount Gox collapse, and I was basically bartering some malaria tablets for about 0.6 Bitcoin, so it was good days. Today I basically give advice on cryptocurrency projects, some due diligence for people looking to put some money in, and yeah, basically we're building a metaverse game as well under Ninja Syndicate Supremacy. The website supremacy.game. Check it out.
Yeah, I quite like Supremacy Game. That game is awesome. Looks great. The mechanics look really fun, so I'm excited to try that game out, and I'm really happy you're here to join with me here today, John. Next, I'm joined with Dan Wang. He's the CIO of YGG Southeast Asia. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Dan?
Yeah, sure. Kind of had a start a long time ago in investment banking, and then transitioned to consulting. About 10 years ago, kind of joined, about a decade ago, joined the gaming industry, helped launch League of Legends for Riot Games as the head of international publishing. Then led our global expansion and infrastructure teams. And then post acquisition by Tencent, they moved me here to China, and I led operations as a COO for Riot China. A couple of years back, shortly before COVID, left to kind of focus on the intersection of blockchain and gaming. And last year formally joined Infinity Ventures as leading their GameFi investments. And we incubated YGG SEA with Gabby and the YGG team, and so I joined up as the head of investments in gaming here at YGGC.
Great. Well, Dan, I gotta tell you something. I love League. Actually, I played ARAM just before this space, so I'm really happy to have you here, and it's quite exciting. So now that I guess we got the introductions out of the way, everybody, let's just kind of start going about. I'll give you a little introduction about the space. So the space today is how to spot a potential project in a bear market. Okay, so we'll just split it up a little bit. First kind of segment is we're going to talk about the bear market itself, followed by the current state of GameFi, and then the last topic is going to be how to spot a good project via analytics. So I got some questions I lined up for you guys, and then after we're done with the questions, we'll open up the floor to anybody. If you guys have any questions about the projects, or you guys have anything you want to add, any opinions, that'd be great, and we'll have that all at the end. So let's get started here. So let's kind of talk about the bear market, right? So overall, the market has been pretty sluggish in May, right? And the DeFi's TVL was just over 100 billion. Now it's down 50%, or it was just over 100 million, down 50% from over 200 billion at the start of the year, right? So the Luna incident had a huge impact, and it still is having a huge impact now. And the general consensus is, we're in a bear market. So what do you guys think of this current situation? What do you guys think of this market, and how much longer is it going to last? Maybe we'll start with you, Scott.
I guess my fear is that it could be a little bit of a prolonged crypto winter at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainty with stable coins, the regulation that has to come about, obviously, with what happened. I don't think we've seen truly the full fallout from what happened with Luna when it comes to different projects and things that were involved with it as well. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens. I truly hope that we don't see a very long winter, but I mean, I'm trying to be a little bit more of a realist, I guess, and just realize like if it does come along, really great. But in the meantime, it's great to see the projects that are sticking through this and building and growing themselves. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. John, what do you think?
Yeah, man, this is either my third or fourth cycle now, and I'm actually pretty glad that we've decoupled from the Bitcoin halvening cycle from the old days. Back then, it was every 4 years. You get some insane bubble and shit hits the fan. So I'm looking at the ultrasound money dashboard at the moment, and Ethereum's getting burned like crazy. OpenSea volume's pretty high. I think we've reached this point where instead of raw speculation like in 2018, we've got if people using Ethereum even in the bear market, and that actually drives it forward. And don't forget that in the prolonged bear market of 2018, that was a couple of years, and the coolest projects today were the ones who were building back then. So I think it's a good time for people to start exploring what people are currently building, and the payoff is in a couple of years, but it's just so much bigger because people are just heads down and working right now on the next big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And truthfully, like I think the projects that stick around and survive this winter, especially, are the ones that are strong and are going to be around for a long time. So a little bit of a silver lining amongst this. And then Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think this happened a bit sooner than maybe a lot of us expected, precipitated by a lot of macro events. Things are kind of going, hell in a handbasket around the world, at least more often than maybe the last couple years. Who would have thought that 2022 would upend 2021 or 2020 as with once in a lifetime or once in a generation events? But here we are. I think some of the other guys that just spoke are actually right about this. Like, it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise, right? Like, as a VC and as a guild who's investing in NFTs and game tokens, things are becoming really, really inflated in terms of just valuations, the number of games that have been launching that probably should not have been able to gather the capital to launch, and market needed a little bit of cooling. And during this time, while unfortunate, I think it will help weed out a lot of these projects that probably shouldn't have received the same opportunities at the outset. And then the ones that really shine are the ones that are focused on building, providing good value, whether it's like entertainment value or utility value, and focused on building, like teams that can build and I think the key word here is just survive and come out on the other side, are going to rise from the ashes bigger, better, stronger than ever. Though I do want to caution, we are preparing internally, even in like a good scenario, for a more prolonged bear market this time, with the caveat that we actually believe it's going to be gaming and GameFi that will help to pull the overall crypto industry out of the bear market sooner than it might have been.
Oh, that's an interesting one, Striker. What I noticed was in the GameFi space, we're in it. We're building supremacy. The burn rate of developing video games is much higher than sorry, the dog's next door going crazy. The burn rate of building video games is much higher than building DeFi projects. So what we actually had was in the cool crypto winter of 2018, you got 4 dudes in a garage kind of smacking out DeFi projects. But now you've got cool GameFi projects that need artists, 3D modelers, game developers. There's just so many more people required, and the side effect of that, I think, is your runway suddenly gets a lot smaller. Your burn rate goes up, and the companies rely a lot more on what you guys do, which is basically capitalizing these companies to be able to build the next crypto projects, because everyone's looking at games, and games just ultimately cost more to build.
Yeah, I mean, you're adding a completely different, gaming, a whole different niche added to DeFi, right? So it's really, I think, building a GameFi project is one of the toughest things to do in this industry right now. And that kind of brings us over to our next topic. Sorry, Scott, before I bring over the next question, do you have anything you wanted to add?
I guess I would say it's like Stryker and John, I believe, both said. When it comes to GameFi, I do feel like there's definitely a trend towards that. And it could be kind of like the difference for what used to be the altcoin rush or market. You're going to see that with GameFi in the next little while, I do believe.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us right to our next question, right? So I got this one's kind of different. I'll be asking you different because you've got a GameFi game, John. So I'll ask you this question first. How has the bear market affected you and you guys at Supremacy?
Yeah, I think we're blessed in an unusual situation. So a lot of our runway was bootstrapped from the community. So instead of accepting VC money up front, we decided to basically do a fair launch, launch a pre-sale of the token to give us enough runway. In terms of the bear market squeezing us, it has happened a bit, but we've strategized for this. So ultimately, what happened was to really protect yourself against the bear market. In this case, for us, is to basically move everything to stablecoins. Now, some stablecoins may have done worse than other stablecoins in the past few weeks. I'm not sure if I should name anything, but we're doing well, and we've got we're an established company. We've been running for several years now, and it's just a matter of knowing your burn rate, knowing what you're going to build, when you're going to deploy it, and having a community that supports you as well. And I think because we've got a big launch coming up soon, a big drop in a month or two, and what that actually gives us is the boost that people need, because in the Supremacy metaverse, people purchase assets and use Supremacy in our ERC token subs, and that just drives economic velocity. Because I think what you see, back to the ultrasound money dashboard, which I really love, the gas prices are so low. And it just tells me that there's not enough economic velocity running through the system. So we track a lot of our transactions running through ours, and we just have our mission is to make sure that economic throughput in our system is as high as possible, and that's enough for us to know that people want what we're building, and basically as long as we make sure that our runway is enough to handle that, then we're good to go.
Sweet, yeah, John. I'm gonna have to get you set up with some dashboards here at Footprint. I think you'll be quite happy with them. As well as we should get something set up for Supremacy as well. So now going on to the second part of the question for Scott and Dan. It's before we dive into a good project, I want to let you guys know what do you guys think of the current situation of GameFi? What in this bear market, how is it affected? Let's start with you, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has to do with I think Scott mentioned earlier about altcoins, and you mentioned about DeFi earlier. The one difference I think with GameFi is that I think for the first time ever that we're seeing in crypto Web3 is that an entire other industry is going to be adopting Web3 in mass, not just coming. I mean, it started by coming here. Chasing alpha, like most other adoptions of crypto. But with gaming, it's a bit different because almost everything about gaming is more native to Web3, right? Like, I'm probably dating myself here a little bit, but like 20 years ago playing World of Warcraft, like everything about it was more native to Web3. I was farming gold, I was leveling up and selling armor on the auction house, I was crafting, and then, when I didn't have time to play, to do all the farming and crafting consumables for raids, I went onto eBay to buy gold from Chinese gold farmers back then. And basically, if you think about it, every single experience that you had would have been made more enjoyable through like tokenization, through Web3, through NFTs. And so because of that, like there's a very clear value for the power of like bringing things on chain for games. And you see the overall like just gaming industry cycle. For the longest time, people talk shit about free to play, like it's not a viable model, and now free to play outstrips pay to play, right? Like by far. And I think transitioning and onboarding and adoption of Web3 or GameFi is going through a similar curve. You see a similar growth rate compared to like free to play back in the day. It's going to take 5-6 years for it to really start to become the majority of games, just the overall gaming industry. But again, it just comes down to like, well, what's the value? It's empowering gamers, right? It's bringing concrete value to players in ways that exceed experiences beforehand. And so with the entire adoption of the industry, overall, I think GameFi is super high potential. And again, this bear market is simply giving most projects a time to pause and actually build. Because I'll be very honest, like the first wave of GameFi was quick adoption, fast movers from a lot of maybe mid-tier or mediocre studios that weren't actually successful in traditional Web2 gaming, but they saw the opportunity here. They pivoted quickly, and they should be rewarded for that, for being pioneers in a new space. But very, again, the reason why they didn't succeed in Web2 was they weren't able to deliver value to players sufficient to keep them engaged and enticed for the long run. Good games, it doesn't even need to be AAA games, just good, fun, engaging games in general take a lot of time to build. There's a lot of design necessary, not just art design, but game balance design and content and narrative. That takes time, that takes money, like John said. Burn rate is generally higher, but what you get at the end is then a product that is truly enjoyable, something that folks stick around and play regardless of market conditions. In fact, if you look at COVID, games exploded during COVID, right? Because people had less things to do, and they went to play things that kept them, that they enjoyed and kept them happy. And I actually think during this bear market, the few games that launch that are really gameplay first will be extremely successful despite the bear market. And then when the bull market returns, they're going to see 100x reward for that as well.
Yeah, Dan, I couldn't agree more. Sorry, I was just going to say, if you guys have any comments about what Dan just said, feel free. That was awesome, Dan.
Yeah, you really hit on something I really care about, which is gaming. When Axie really took off in July-ish last year, I basically ran out there to the GameFi industry and I tried everything. I tried all the crypto games out there because I love crypto, love gaming. I've been in the space. I've been playing games for decades as well. It wasn't that impressive, honestly. It's like the two things I love put together was not as engaging as I hoped. I guess ultimately what happened is that
I hear you on that one.
I do.
Yeah, like come on, you're in the league space, right? You played League to death, surely, and you're like, this is awesome. This is like Dota. This is like Aeon of Strife. I'm dating myself now, but what the first movers actually had that advantage. But as people played it over time, they're like, there's not actually much game here. It's just DeFi with extra steps, and man, we're going to move away from that, and that's kind of what drives us as well. I wanted to make that point.
Yeah, I agree. Games gotta be fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott.
That's okay. Don't worry, man. It's all good. No, I just need to say the same thing. Like the games that did roll out, I'm so sick of it, and I've been very vocal about it as of late too. Is like these silly running games that everybody is coming out with. It's a rip off of a probably an existing game that they could add their graphics onto, or Flappy Bird or whatever. It doesn't matter. What I really want to see is what Dan was talking about, is the older MMO style games, kind of like your World of Warcraft, Ultima Online. I think those style of games are going to be what leads GameFi in the future. MMOs are huge markets, but as well as first-person shooters, of course, will be big too, because, I mean, you think about the armor, the guns that you could buy, character skins, all those things could be implemented into a game in your land or whichever, right? So in the end, it's huge markets, especially in Asia, Philippines. I know in all over Asia is huge. In the States, it's getting bigger. In Canada, it is whatever it is. And I've enjoyed my fair share of games. I'm going to age myself, I guess, as well. I've been on online games since Sierra Online, like from the very beginning, or Ultima Online. I love online games. Like it's one of my favorite things to kind of do as a pastime or whatever. So when you see these original games that are coming out this last little while, some are just like staking and doing different things, but there's no real graphics or gameplay involved in it, and it was really disappointing to see what was rolling out. I guess the one good thing was Axie Infinity, and you've seen the adoption in the Philippines. I think it is Dan that is doing kind of like some companies are doing a scholar program, so people can actually like rent characters, rent things that they need to do to actually make an income. That's going to be huge for Philippines, third world countries and stuff like that. And I really am looking forward to that, in all honesty, to have these third world countries be able to earn a wage or earn something from actually playing games, and I think that will create a huge adoption rate in the future as well.
Yeah, man. Like there's a magic and wonder that I want to bring back to World of Warcraft. That Dan was saying, basically, when you first play World of Warcraft, you're in a magical place. You're exploring. And the core of the magic is player-to-player interactions, and we kind of lost that in the Web 2 world as well. So, what you want is for the ability for the player to basically interact with another player, build an emergent story, emergent gameplay, and just trade items and all that kind of stuff between players. And we lost that along the way. We lost that in the Web 2 space as well, because now we have battle royales, and we have automatic matchmaking, all that kind of stuff. But I think Web 3 has the potential to create a world where players interact with other players without a centralized microtransaction system, without being railroaded into the gameplay that forces people to set up Discord servers outside to be able to interact with each other. Like, it needs to be. This is why we present ourselves as a metaverse company rather than a crypto gaming GameFi companies, because we build a world where you can work, you can socialize, and you can play all at once, and that's kind of where we're heading, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, go back to what I said about the skins. Like, if I could sell back all my League of Legends skins,
oh yeah, you'd be yeah, exactly. I know what you mean, man. I have so much left on a couple accounts. Some of the rarest, packs. Packs.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, look, it's exactly. Yeah, and it's funny that you guys mentioned this, but it's actually because a lot of these games didn't have good gameplay that it's actually forcing. It's a forcing function to then make people look for other incentives, which is just the earning component. So it's like a self-defeating thing. It's like, if there is no gameplay, then the only thing people can be chasing is just extraction of value, right? And then obviously that makes it unsustainable.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess this moves it right back into our next question. So, personally, like you guys as well, I think GameFi is what's going to adopt the most users into Web3. Gamers it's just the next step. So, what needs to be done with current projects now? What needs to be done, and in the future to adopt these Web2 users um, into Web3? What do these games need to do? Let's start with let's start with you, John.
Yeah, so you've touched on something that has hit pretty much everyone in this space, and that's onboarding. So as much as we like to think us crypto bros and sisters are the whole world, I think we're probably 1% of the population, maybe less, and that's something that that's lost audience right there. I want my parents to be able to jump in and play the games that I build, that my team builds. I want the world to just be able to use it. And right now, having to connect MetaMask, go to Uniswap, grab some tokens, it's it's not exactly easy to do. So I think what needs to be done is there needs to be an abstraction layer between all the crypto innards of a game, and you should be able to play the game without even realizing that crypto is there. So I think let's bring back League of Legends, a game that we all love. Um, just plumbing League of Legends into the Web3 space. You can play League of Legends. You can play League of Legends all day, competitively, do all your stuff. But to have a shim, to have an adapter that connects you to the world of Web3, that's what needs to happen, and it needs to be opt-in. So the whole game should exist on its own as a sustainable, awesome, fun game, and then for the people that want to do it, they can take the tokens out, speculate, trade NFTs, and all that kind of stuff. But if you take away the game and you have just crypto, you get basically what we have today. You take away crypto, just the game, you have basically what we have today. You need to be able to build you need a system underneath that lets you connect, game to economy, game to open economy, and I think that's the next step. We need to build that for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick segue before I get to you, Scott and Dan. Everybody listening, I really appreciate you guys are here. Thanks for coming by and listening. If you guys could retweet the space, get your friends in here. We're gonna have a really engaging tour of space tonight. Scott, what do games need to do to right now to adopt users from Web 2 into Web 3, and what do they need to do in the future to onboard these users?
I think John has it correct. It has to be easier to be used. So there's a lot of issues with people trying to figure out how to get into the game, what wallet you need, how you need to set it up, what NFTs you need to buy to be part of it. I think it needs to be kind of like that subscription to World of Warcraft, or going into, for instance, I used to play Perfect World. I don't know if any of you guys have played that, but it was another game where you could go on and basically the only time you needed to purchase is if you wanted the rare items, the mounts, the big swords, or whatever, right? Like you pay extra for some of that stuff, or for in-game currency. And I think if they could do that and do it in an easier way, such as like being able to use kind of like a monthly subscription, or a in-game currency that they can buy, just like in World of Warcraft. We used to go on eBay, like he was mentioning, to buy gold. I know I did that too back in the day. It's kind of funny talking about it, but it's like one of those things. If we could find an easier way for them to just get the tokens, be a one-click method where people can do it very easily, and it could be adapted and people could get into it. The other thing is going to be like mobile games. I really feel in the future we're going to see a lot of augmented reality. I don't think it's going to be in the near future, but I think augmented games is going to be huge, like you see Pokemon Go or any of those. But I think more of like the wearable technology, or glasses, things like that. I always joke about, in the future we're going to see people playing in the park and you're going to be wondering what the hell they're doing, but they have 2 sets of wearable glasses on and they're playing in an augmented reality world, maybe fighting each other as knights or whatever else, and everybody around them is going to be like, what the heck? But I think that's going to be the future of gaming, and I mean, augmented reality is going to be huge in the future too, not just in gaming, but everything. But I really think as we push forward, mobile for Africa, mobile for Philippines, mobile for India, any kind of very simplified games that are very, very simple to use, very simple to upload, I think it could really push GameFi into the future.
Yeah, mobile adoption is huge. Yeah, damn. What needs to be done now and in the future, especially as someone who's working in a game guild, you would know this firsthand.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'll be a little bit of a contrarian here. Although I guess it's kind of what John was saying, but a little bit of opposite of what Scott was saying in that, for us, it's, and coming from the gaming industry, what I see is like lowering the barriers to entry, right? Mm-hmm. I think all of us here can agree how intimidating or anxiety driven it was the first time you created a wallet, did a transaction, bought an NFT, had a bridge to another chain, had to swap something. Man, I kept thinking I was just going to lose all my money, or if I didn't have somebody there coaching me through it, or holding my hand, I don't know that I could have done it independently, right? Maybe I'm just not smart enough. But I think GameFi and the transition from Web 2 to Web 3, it's really about providing a good on-ramp for Web 2 users into Web 3. Lowering these barriers of entry, lowering the friction, and removing as many steps as possible that kind of churn people out with each barrier, so that the experience is almost intuitive. It's almost like one click. If there's some single sign-on, instant deploy, then it makes it so much easier for folks to embrace the value of Web3, because people want to. They just, I think, don't always know how. So actually, one of the things that we're very, very bullish on is hyper casual gaming, right? There's 3.4 billion gamers in the world. 90% are hyper casual or casual gamers, and they're mostly on mobile. And this is where, I think the next billion Web3 users are actually going to come from gaming, and probably first from hyper casual gaming. AAA games, really, really well thought out, gameplay first, deep gaming experiences are great, but it's also a smaller portion of the overall gaming ecosystem. Even though the capital expense is, much higher for AAA games, and there's much more, money being spent in it, the absolute number of players is still much, much greater in hyper casual and casual gaming and mobile gaming. And because of that, our bet is that with hyper casual and casual games, one, the gaming experience is easier. Not everyone can just hop into, EVE Online or World of Warcraft and know what's going on and play. And even League of Legends, a lot of people start League for the first time and oh my god, this is too hard, I can't play. Or unless you have someone that drags you along and teaches you how to play, they churn out very quickly. But that's not the case for hyper casual. Hyper casual gaming, your mom can play. My mom plays. Anyone in the world can kind of hop on and play. And so if you can make the onboarding experience somewhat seamless, so they don't even realize they're playing in Web3, and it's a hyper casual, so then the barrier to onboarding to a specific game is also lower, I think that's the key strategy in pulling mass amounts of Web 2 users into Web 3. And I'd say one last thing is, even though I personally love a lot of these big AAA games and open world or SLG MMOs, it's also the most competitive space, right? This is where your giant AAA studios around the world, EA, Blizzard, Krafton, Riot Games, etc., Ubisoft, etc. This is where they're most dominant, with 20,000 devs, company, splashing billions of dollars in development over 5-6 years for multiple games and titles and IPs. You have to compete against that, right? And so I think it's going to be a crowded space where the capital expenditure is extremely high, and then players are also most picky. Like some of us that are pretty hardcore players are super picky about like the AAA games we play. And so if you launch a Web3 version of a AAA game and it's not good, I'm gonna trash talk it. I'm gonna hate it, and I'm gonna be like, oh, this is a cheap attempt to like lure me in with microtransactions such as NFTs or whatever, right? And then it's gonna turn me off to the overall concept of like GameFi and Web3. But this is why, like, I think if you go for a lot of these like hyper casual mass market players first, and slowly onboard them so that they understand the potential of like Web3 and why it's a better experience overall, I think that's kind of where the mass majority of your next, again, billion Web3 users are going to come from.
Yeah, and I mean, what do you guys think about this too? I mean, with a lot of these games coming out, the NFTs or the in-game assets you need to start are quite expensive, right? It's proven. Gamers, especially Web 2, they're willing to throw $80 at a game, right? But when it comes into onboarding for Web 3, throwing $200 at an NFT in a market that they've never been in before can seem a little intimidating. What's your guys' opinion about some projects and the high barrier of entry to get started, like the high cost?
Yeah. Oh man, this is an interesting one because NFT, not even factoring gas prices, can cost hundreds of dollars. Hey, some of them cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So the barrier to entry is probably higher than most games. I think just to touch on what Dan was saying before, actually. The super large AAA gaming companies, they're well capitalized, they're well resourced, but at the same time they actually don't get Web3 very well. I think some good examples. You look in Ubisoft's attempts at NFTs. I think Stalker tried to push out some NFTs as well. The traditional gaming community is very, very anti NFT. So. And what we see is that these companies, these AAA companies, are trying their best to kind of push out NFTs and get their players to join, and then it's just pure hate, pure toxic, vile hate. And I think it means that they actually don't get it. And this direction from the top of these large companies, they don't get how to crack Web3. And people listening here understand it. It's a grassroots movement. It's from the bottom up. You can't have top-down directives to have NFTs to speculate on. You need to win the hearts and minds of the gamers. And I think there's a bit of room for competition here, only because the incumbents don't really know how to compete in this space. And I just feel that the next few years we'll see what happens. I think there's room here, but on the other topic, Dan, I just want to roll back a bit to your onboarding stuff. I agree with you because the small scale transparent technology has always won over the larger population. So outside the US, in Southeast Asia, mobile phones have taken off. When I was in Africa, when I was deployed to Africa. Everyone just skipped the desktop thing, right? They just went straight to phones, and if you can kind of roll with that kind of mentality, move away from expensive gadgets that enhance your life, but just kind of hold all your product inside a phone, you're winning just through pure volume. And rolling back again to what we're building, we're making sure that the people in the less wealthy countries, they can participate. They can have a phone, they can play the game, and then the people in the wealthier countries can actually interact. And it creates a simulated economy that people can from all levels of society can participate in, and that inclusiveness is actually what will drive the games forward and enhance adoption as well.
I just want to say that's amazing. The one thing I noticed lately, and I don't know if you guys have noticed it as much, I watch a couple of these TikTokers online and stuff. There is an interesting push towards online betting, like actual blackjack and roulette and different things like that. And I know it's not quite, it is a little bit of GameFi, but in the end, these guys are signing up for Coinbase accounts or signing up for different accounts and actually buying Bitcoin or whatever they need to actually start to do some online gambling and stuff. But also the play to, or not play to earn, yeah, I guess you call it play to earn, like your step in or something like that, or move to earn, I guess they would call it. Those ones are huge too right now, and I really like the idea of some of those, creating a lot of activity and stuff in people. And I think if you get a person moving and excited about what they're doing and how they're earning it, I think you'll see some maybe social, economic values added into as well. Like I think there's talk of in certain cities and stuff like that, you go around and you go pick up some garbage off the street or something along those lines, and you can earn tokens or earn points towards something, or microtransactions. Like there's so much that we can do, and I'm so excited about the future of GameFi and what's out there. But I mean, the more adoption we get, and especially in poorer countries like you're talking about, and like simple games. When you guys were talking about simple games, I go back to one game my mom used to play was like Pop It, where you pop the balloons or whatever, and a chance that you clear the board and then you win a prize, right? But it's simple, like click and push, and if you make it through, then you win a prize, right? And that's going to be kind of like those games, bingo or whatever else, like just really simplified, very easy to use. And if they can sign on an account and pull in Bitcoin or something else, or any kind of cryptocurrency, BSC or Crow or whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll definitely see more and more people get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, too, I guess getting people onto the thought of having these tokens as maybe still keep their mind as still an in-game token, but then later on, if they want to go withdraw it, sure, it's a pleasant surprise. This nice $5-10 later, right? They don't realize at the time, keep it as an in-game token kind of in their mind until they actually want to get it withdrawn, But I have a question for you guys going into the analytics and the research. When we're looking at new projects, right? We always do our own research. What's the first thing you guys look at when looking at a potential new project to get involved in? Let's start with you, Dan.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Depends on which hat I'm wearing, right? As a VC or from the guild angle. From a guild angle, because our mission here is to try and provide scholarship opportunities, financial inclusion, and basically give players a way to extract value, essentially, for the time and value creation inside of a game. We do tend to look for slightly different things than perhaps I do as a VC. Sometimes that means like we favor like time to market. Our players, they don't wait around forever, right? Like if the game is going to take another year and a half to develop, that's great, but it doesn't help our players now that want something to play now. And so time to market is a huge one for us. The type of support for onboarding players so that they have a good onboarding experience. It's easy for us to deploy, easy for us to manage, good performance and analytics around how they're playing the game is super important. And that's inconsistent across all like quality levels of games and game types. And then lastly, we also look at game genres. We have, the reason why we're the YGG ecosystem creates sub DAOs is because gamers are inherently different by all around the world, right? Like what Indian gamers like to play versus Southeast Asia versus Japan versus North America, or Europe, Western Europe, all very, very different. Right? I always say it's like McDonald's. McDonald's India, there's no burgers. McDonald's China, the most popular thing is fried chicken, and then you don't even have fried chicken in McDonald's US. Why? It's because tastes are different by culture and language and region. And so, we look very closely at the genres of games that our players in Southeast Asia particularly like and enjoy. And then we we make sure that the game has like a business model and the type of gameplay that, fits our audience. Which, I think this would be in addition to a lot of the base level things that we look at, which are sustainability of the game, development team, their success of execution, and then ultimately also like tokenomics.
Man, that time to market topic really grinds my gears, man, and I'm glad you brought it up. So every time I go in the crypto gaming space and I want to play a game in the crypto gaming space, I try, and I literally cannot. So I think the problem is, in the bull market, we had, thousands and thousands of projects that popped up with no game, no product. We have people that just bring out a white paper and some cool tokens, I suppose, and I want to play some games, man, and I actually can't. So the time to market is something that bothers me a lot, and I'm glad you brought it up. But outside of that, I've actually got a nice simple 5-part solution to assessing DeFi projects. Well, I know we're talking about games at the moment, but it actually applies to games as well. I use this when giving advice to some funds that request if a project's basically worth it or not. So let me just jump into it. So point one, I look at the community, look at the Discord groups, look at the Telegram, look at what they talk about, look at how many bots are in the community, how many paid shields there are, and if they're just talking about either the price, which is bad, or they're talking about the game, which is good. Next is leadership. I look into who's running the company. So I'm curious about what they've built in the past, just like what Dan said. I'm curious about kind of their mission, their vision, and if they can actually execute. Thirdly, I'm curious about open source. I can program, so I do a lot of reviews of smart contracts and stuff. So I'd like to see a GitHub link, just some actual work being done. Next, second last is the security. So smart contracts require auditing. They require again, back previous point, open source contracts, but also audit reports and all that good stuff. And finally, I'm curious about tokenomics. So I want to know if this entire game is a Ponzi, which basically means driven by new money coming in. I don't know if the entire game is a Ponzi-esque, aka the currency is basically hyperinflationary, and the developers are just pumping new tokens in to feed it, feed new players. Or I want to know if the tokenomics are sustainable. I want to know if a player, if the game can last for years and years and years, just driven by player activity, player involvement. And that's it's quite a long list, but if a project satisfies those 5 things, man, they're going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, I think those 5 questions are really important to ask, especially getting to know the team, the leadership behind it. Yeah, and Scott, what do you think?
I agree. Like, I've been bad about calling out projects right now that were taking advantage of hype. Like, yourself, you've seen some of my posts, but about like the C Luna community, it was like a ripoff of Luna, and just taking advantage of hype, bringing people in, and then the owners of the project, I believe, own like over 10% of the actual whole tokens, and we'll just dump on everybody that gets in, which is sad. And I shouldn't even say the name, I guess. My bad on that part, but
yeah,
it's just something. Yeah, you need
no
to be
names.
You need to be aware of of what you're getting into, what you're doing. I mean, and it's like they said, there's some copy and paste people out there that totally take advantage of coding and stuff in GitHub and will make their game right off the other one, change out a couple images, throw it up, and then take advantage of a whole community of people. And that's sad. I hate to see it. And I don't think we're going to see, hopefully, we're going to see less of that in the future with regulation and what's going on. And the blockchain is immutable, you guys. It's going to be around forever. The more people realize that and realize that anything that happens on here is going to be recorded forever, and it's going to come back on you sooner or later. Be prepared. It's coming.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys, I've only gone through 4 of my questions, and we've gone for 55 minutes. That's been awesome. I'm loving the discussion we've been having. But I think, you know, we've got quite the audience right now, so I figured maybe we do a little halftime and let the audience come up if they want to request, or you guys want to request, ask any questions or add any thoughts quickly. Let's do it now. You guys have been really patient. I appreciate you guys for listening. I see some really familiar faces down there. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to request or add any comments we've talked about. I'll probably open it up for the next 5 minutes or so, depending on how many requests we get. If not, we can just keep moving on for the questions. Cool with you guys?
Yeah, I'm good.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
Now I'm connecting Ava's. They've been requesting to speak since the 10-minute mark. So Ava's, if you're up here now, if you got anything you'd like to add or any questions, feel free to speak. I also am bringing up BigONE. I hope I'm saying that right. BigONE, thanks for joining. Do you have any questions or any comments?
Hello. Thanks to Alice and all the speakers. I learned a lot today. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. And we have been hearing some voices lately that it's a bear market. And I know today's guests are people who work in investment institutions, gaming guilds, exchange, and GameFi projects. And I want to ask, from your domain, what indicators do you look for as a way to monitor market recovery signals? And when do you expect the bear market to show signs of ending? Yeah, we'd love to know what you guys think about this. Thank you. Am I clear?
Yep, you're good to go. Thank you. Yeah, who wants to go first? John?
Yeah, oh man, no one knows when the bear market ends, right? I think the problem is the macro outside of crypto. So the world's not looking great at the moment, in any country really. So it's kind of unprecedented. If you've read the Bitcoin white paper, which I have, sadly, it was basically created in response to 2008, the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis. Since then, we haven't had another GFC, and I think we're about to head into one. This is on a macroeconomics level. So this is kind of the first in history that this is going to happen. I like to think that it'll be nice and painless, but I cannot make any predictions about this. I do like that. Someone mentioned right at the beginning, and this is a generation of first in a generation. We had a pandemic, had all this stuff going on. I like to point towards the Ethereum consensus upgrade happening this year. So the merge of Ethereum into changing the consensus layer to proof of stake is going to be quite a large supply shock to the economy. But this is going to happen in a downturn in the crypto market. So I'd like to think that will shock it out of that state. But again, who knows? All we can really do is kind of hedge your bets, keep an eye out for good projects, and make sure you have make sure you have food to eat and you're paying your bills on the side as well.
I agree with that 100%. I was also going to mention as well, like you were talking about the Ethereum fork for sure is going to be huge. It is going to take out a ton of their tokens out of the market, kind of in a way. I think as well, you have your Bitcoin halving that is going to be happening in the next little while, I believe. I don't know if it's August or same kind of time frame as Ethereum. The big thing is, I think, and just like you mentioned with the way that our economics are right now, I think the biggest thing is going to be actually seeing the separation from the fiat market towards more of a positive upswing in the cryptocurrency market, and the fiat market continuing to go down where the cryptocurrency market starts to go up. If we see that separation between the two, I think that could be fairly large as well. But we definitely need to see more money come into the exchanges and different things like that, and a more volume before we're going to see a bull market in the near future.
It's probably worth looking at the analytics on the side as well. Liquidity is getting smaller and smaller, and if you track the amount of Ethereum in this case on the centralized exchanges, it's getting really thin. I think it was $5 million is enough to shift the Ethereum price, and a lot of the money's flying out into the decentralized exchanges. So I'm very into DeFi. A lot of the money is, a lot of the Ethereum collateral is getting staked on the staking contracts. A lot of it's being locked into DeFi as well. So it slips very quickly, and I think what we'll see is a sharp trend upwards this year. And it's I like to say, I just like to point out that I've been in the game long enough that no matter what you do, just buy and hold, and you generally come out okay. You just need to think long term.
Unless you bought and hold Luna, right? Probably shouldn't say that. But so it's interesting because I think one thing that we've noticed, and I've noticed, is like there's just too much dry powder trying to all invest in primaries, and because of that, there's just not enough activity or liquidity in secondaries, right? Like it's less and less retail participation, and then there's, I think, A16Z just announced another $4.5 billion fund. I think this brings it up to like 30 billion in dry powder waiting to invest in primaries. Most of this is not going into into the active market. This is going into seeding and funding projects, which is great, but without capital flowing into secondaries and tokens being utilized for their intended purposes instead of just staked to kick the can down the road, earn a yield, and then wait out the summer. Wait out the crypto winter. I don't think we'll see a change until the shift of use changes for tokens, and the shift of investment kind of flows back into the secondary markets versus I think it's like 90% right now really waiting on the sidelines to invest in primaries.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that wraps up for our questions, guys. Thank you, BigONE, for coming up and asking that question. So I'm going to bring it now to our next questions, more related onto the chains. I'm going to talk specifically about BSC, right? So BSC currently for GameFi has the most users out of all the chains, with 6.9 million, holding 45% of the total users on GameFi have been onboarded through BSC, Binance Smart Chain. And 50% of the total games released this month are also on Binance Smart Chain. So my question is for you guys, why is Binance Smart Chain, BSC, what is so attractive about this chain for users, and not only users but developers? Is it because the fees are cheaper? Is it easier to work with? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's start. Well, I think I'll start with John for this one because your supremacy is released on BSC, correct?
Yeah, we're actually multi-chain. So we've got our BEP20s, the subs token on BSC, and our NFTs all sit on Ethereum. So I could probably talk to this one quite a bit. BSC is super cheap. All right, now we've got less than a cent per transaction. You've got huge volumes. If you plug into a node, you see just stuff flying through. Block times are 3 seconds long. There's an insane amount of activity. An insane amount of small activity. So the ultra whales sit on Ethereum, the giga whales sit on Bitcoin, but the people sit on BSC. Now, in terms of whether or not BSC is technically better, that's a different story. But they have the people, and the reason why the reason why I think this happens is because of onboarding. Like, everyone uses Binance. I think Vitalik gave a talk recently where he was in South America, and they just use Binance to send money to each other. They treat it like a bank, really. And from Binance, using the centralized exchange Binance and shifting to BSC is super smooth. And Binance controls that flow, and Ethereum has nothing like that. Polygon has nothing like that. To enter the Polygon system, it's a bit of a pain because they don't have the centralized power and presence that Binance has. And it just outside of that, you've got all the grants, the fundings, and stuff as well. But I just think it's just easier for a normal person to do a thing they're familiar with. In this case, sign up to Binance Exchange, and then they're in the app and they learn about BSC, and they basically just hop into the DeFi. And to them, DeFi is BSC. They're not even aware of Polygon. They're not even aware of Ethereum. There's this thing on the called Solana on the side as well, and then just by default they end up in BSC. They discover Pancake Swap, and only the diehards will actually make it to the other side. In my case, I started on Bitcoin and I slowly shifted over to Ethereum, so it was like the opposite way for me. But I think for the average person who gets into crypto today, they start off at the decentralized exchange and then they move on from there. And BSC is the only one that's hooked in smoothly into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, what about you? Why are YGG guild users using BSC?
It's really what John said. It's the onboarding platform, right? Like having Binance support BSC is really smart. It's their own acquisition channel, their own acquisition funnel, and then ease of use, right? It's easier to use. The overall ecosystem is larger, and then it becomes sort of self-fulfilling. And I think that's, while we're very supportive of Solana, one of the drawbacks is it's harder to develop on Solana. The ecosystem's much smaller than ETH, and because of that, like, even though you can argue in some areas, like theoretically the tech is better or the solution is better or whatever, but the community is smaller, and generally people flow to where the community's at, and they congregate. There's more individuals to learn from, to pull each other up from, and then just better liquidity overall. And then so I think in general we see a lot of the success on BSC because, well, the people are there, and community and people matter the most. And so I think you'll continue to see content being developed on BSC because people want to access the community. And it kind of started as the chicken and the egg, but now it's becoming like a self-reinforcing chicken and the egg. Like, communities go there because there's more content, and more content wants to develop there because there's a larger community.
Yeah, great. Scott, what do you think? Do you have any opinions on BSC?
I can't really add too much more to what they said. Just like they mentioned, the cost of it, the transactional speed of it, the ease of use. Sorry, I mean, once you get down to like using Pancake Swap or something like that to actually like buy the tokens and do whatever else, it's very simplified processes in order to get the coins into your wallet. I think once you've learned it and learned how to do it, I think it's very simple process. So that's a future of cryptocurrency. The more that people really concentrate on being able to get people to buy their tokens within the least amount of steps with the easiest way possible is really gonna what will create a great project or a great token. And also, I was going to mention Solana, like you guys were talking about Solana, but the big thing with them too is their downtimes all the time. Like, I think there was one even today or yesterday, just in the last little while. So, where BSE, I don't know if any times that it's been down for too long as of late.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to do a quick shout out to Yin Finance. Thanks for coming in and listening to us today. Yin Finance, we did AMA with them a couple months ago. Michael McMurray, thanks for joining up today as well. It's good to see you again, my friend. We were talking earlier in one of his spaces. But my next question for you guys, this one's regarding tokenomics, right? Obviously, tokenomics is a very important aspect of a GameFi project, right? From the analytics, we can see that single token GameFi games generally have the shortest lifespan. So what kind of games and models have you seen that are doing a good job, especially in this bear market? What kind of models do you guys like, and what have you seen that's successful?
Yeah, I think a successful game economy needs to be sustainable. Is this the most critical thing? I've mentioned it a couple of times in this show. You need economic velocity flying through the system. It needs to come from other players. It can't come from the people who are developing the system. And a lot of projects have to getting to that point is really hard. You have to create the game. You need to get the players, and you need to get them to play and actually push money around. I think that's something that actually kind of fell upon by accident through the Scholar Manager program, which initially didn't have any internal systems to support it. It was basically you were literally sharing passwords or sharing seed phrases around, trying to rent out axes. But that was like a glimmer of the way it should be done. If we can kind of really focus on the ability for players to participate in an economy between other players. So, zooming out a bit, you think about crypto economies as a real economy, as a metaverse, right? Every economy in our society, the Western society anyway, it's a very capitalist system. Crypto is also that, and what we need to see is in a reductive sense. You need to see goods and services being created. You need to see goods and services being shared around the economy, and you need to see goods and services being exported and imported into the system. So any game that kind of nails that, the ability to move assets, move services in and out, back and forth, to add value to other players, so players can create value through goods, create value through services for other players, you will see a game succeed and be purely sustainable only because players will come for the opportunity, and players will stay there for the opportunity. It's kind of like when America was quite a young country, all the immigrants came over. They saw the potential, what they could do if they worked hard. They can achieve their dreams. That's the kind of feeling that you need to push. And if you do that inside a game, and it's only possible with crypto gaming because you can plug into other economies, then you've got a winner.
Yeah, great answer, John. Dan, what do you think?
It's interesting because I don't think it's the fact that it's a single token or dual token, or actually we're seeing some that are 3 or more tokens. Actually, the more tokens that you have, it just simulates a more real life experience. It gives you more levers of control, but then it becomes infinitely harder to control, right? And so most of the GameFi projects and studios that I've seen try and do this, they don't actually. I mean, if you think about the Fed, right? Like, how hard is it trying to control like an overall economy? And most of these games are trying to do that on a micro scale, and obviously, the more levers you have, the better. The problem is what kind of John brought up is if you don't have enough utility, if you don't have enough valid use case, if you don't have transactions and value creation across like all these different token variables that you can control, then you're basically just using one to dump, one to pump, or whatever, right? And so I think it really comes down to what John said, is like making sure there's a reason to use the token, making sure there's some value behind it, and then there's a way for value creation to happen so that folks want to engage or buy this currency, this token, in order to use it for its intended purpose of utility in game. And if there's more use for utility sake rather than just investment sake, I really think that's what will be successful.
Oh, value. Yeah, so now we're touching into what is value, right? It's like you're creating value, but what is value? So I think what a lot of crypto games have missed is, to them, value is token. So we'll just issue tokens, or maybe value is NFT. We'll just issue an NFT. But to me, value is a thing that someone else will pay for, and as long as a new project, a new game project focuses on that, how do players create value for other players, and they just kind of build against that philosophy, then I think it'll sustain. It'll be a sustainable project.
Value is community, and utility. I think both you guys kind of hit it on the nail. I just need to add that community is huge. You've seen it in some of these meme tokens that went to the moon at the very beginning and didn't end properly or whatever, but in the same sense, they have a very, very, very strong vocal community. And if you have that in Twitter, in Facebook, in Instagram, in TikTok, you build this hype around it that will create a lot to the actual project itself. A bit now.
I think community is huge, right? Community is huge, even at Footprint, right? We're our community at Footprint, right? You guys making our dashboards and charts. We have what are our projects without the communities behind them? Dan, I've seen you put your hand up there. Does anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, value creation, I think is you're right. Like, people will pay for a community, right? I think Moonbirds and Proof is a good example. People will pay for anything that people are willing to pay for. That's what value creation is. Whether that's just time, like the time value of somebody, because for instance, I didn't want to farm all the gold or grind or gather ore to craft consumables when I wanted to raid, saving that time for me, or any other service or any other creation, that is value in a game. And if somebody else is willing to contribute value in for that value creation, that's what actually allows for value extraction. But if you don't have that and only have value extraction, well then that's what you have. That's when you get a Ponzi scheme.
Jumping into what Scott said about community, one of the greatest projects I love to follow is Shiba, and it's like a perfect example of a project with like pretty bad tokenomics. Everyone's kind of anonymous, but the community is so strong that they actually come out with some pretty cool stuff. I follow them all the time, and I watch what they're building, and I'm always blown away. In this kind of weird, quasi-utopic tokenomic society where everyone doesn't care what the price is. They just want to donate to charities and help dogs and stuff. It's just, sometimes some wacky things can come out of unusual tokenomics as well. I just wanted to point that out.
And to bring it back to the community, I think, another great example is VFriends. I think VFriends and the community they've created behind VFriends is amazing. I mean, they got VCon, we got that is crazy event with celebrities coming in and stuff like that. A huge community behind it. I brought Avis back up. I seen you wanted to speak. We missed your question last time. Is there anything you wanted to add quick before we move on?
Hi, sorry, I just lost my connection, so missed the last round. So, I am very happy here and glad to hear you sharing I just when we talk about tokenomics, I have one simple question. What's your opinion about the NFTs? Because I really want to know what you say value in it, because most of them seems useless and expensive.
I just wanted to talk really quickly on a project that I'm not a part of, but I do have some of their NFTs. I don't know if any of you guys know about it, but they're based out of Korea. They bought a national treasure in the last little bit, backed it into the liquidity of the actual DAO itself. I thought it was brilliant. The project's High Saw Society. I know the like I've done interviews with them and stuff, so I don't mind saying their names and stuff. Just that was major for me to see actual value where they have members area only at EDM concerts in Korea. They have bars that they're opening up, one in Seoul, one in New York, different places like that to add value to the members. I think it's all about value. The same thing with Bored Apes. And like you were mentioning, I'm so sick of these like Bored Ape off spawns of the Basie, where now you got Grandpa Apes, you got Queen Apes, you got whatever, it doesn't matter. All the different sub apes, it's insane, and it really takes away from what the project is unless they're doing what Basie does or what High Saw Society is doing, where they're actually adding value to the people that hold the NFTs. There's a mansion for Basie, merchandise for them. They got paid in their own token. The ape coin came out. I mean, that's value. That's true value, and that's what we need to see in a lot of these projects. I really feel that way.
I think NFTs being useless is actually it's a common rhetoric, and it's actually kind of true for many projects, like Scott says. The whole reason why we in Ninja Syndicate entered this space, like we entered this space hard, is because I was frustrated with the utility or lack of utility with NFTs. NFTs, I think the world is still working out what NFTs are good for. I mean, you have ownership of a digital thing that is in the ether and doesn't really exist physically. What can you do with it? And I think initially what I saw was CryptoKitties, back in 2017, 2018, where you just bought this kitty that was a randomly generated number with a randomly generated kitten, and then it's valuable because it was first. It's kind of boring. And move forward a few years, you buy some pictures of apes, pictures of cats, and that also didn't have much utility. Moving forward a bit more, we now have community building. So what we have today is NFTs provide you exclusive access to a gated community of anonymous people. That's not necessarily a good thing, nor is it utility, but it's a good step forward. So what we've done is what we've been building is a way to provide utility for NFTs. And for us, rolling back to my huge rant a few minutes ago about goods and services, it's the good. It's the import that you bring into your world, and that thing has to generate value for you. In our game supremacy, you purchase these mechs, these giant robots that are NFTs, and they actually will win battles for you. They actually will win tokens for you. So that's utility. So you need to have all this stuff around the NFT that the NFT can actually add value to, and that's when you get utility. I think the world's still trying to work out how to make that happen. We're kind of on the bleeding edge of economic technology right now. In the next few years, as people work out what the best way to do it is, then I think we'll see some cool stuff. And at the moment, you see like kind of boring, uninspired projects. I mean, if you have an NFT that lets you, I don't know, concert tickets. Everyone gives the example of concert tickets. If you could build that stuff without Web3, if you could just build a Web2 system that lets you buy concert tickets and sell them, that's not very interesting. To be able to tie it into a fully functioning economy and living, breathing, sustainable system where players interact with each other, now you got something interesting. You got NFTs that people want because they can use the NFT to do things and actually make some money as well.
Dan, do you have anything to add?
Man, I think they covered it pretty well. Nothing really new to add. I think they pretty much all the points I was going to bring up, they already mentioned. So, yeah.
All right, sweet. So I got another question. We're going to take a little pause from the analytics and go more onto a GameFi protocols team, right? So, John, you might not like this one because I'm coming right at you, buddy. But what's the most important aspect to look at when you're doing your research on a team? Should all GameFi protocols, should everybody working on, should they be doxed? And finally, what do you guys consider a red flag when talking to these teams? John, should we dox you? I mean, you're already doxed, but.
So I have a very common surname, and I've got a very common first name. So I'm dox resistant, but I am doxed, and the leadership of Ninja Syndicate are all doxed, and not just doxed. The Ninja Syndicate, the company, is a registered company in Australia. We have an office, we have an address, we have a registered business number. We have all the things that the traditional world expects. Now, I think the reason why we dox ourselves is because it provides confidence. It lets people discover who we are, and there's a face, right? There's plenty of projects that are anonymous, and good for them. They can do what they want. But the reason to be doxed is because there's a great article by Vitalik about the about legitimacy, and how legitimacy is the scarcest resource for any crypto project. And I really believed what he wrote, and outside of doxing, it's too important that the people that want to back your project, they actually care about who you are. Now, there's some other projects. I'm a big fan of some projects that have fully anonymous founders, and if they are fully anonymous, I don't demand that they dox themselves. I do other things. I look at what they've built before. I look at their open source projects. I look at their vision and all the other stuff I mentioned before. So doxing is nice to have, and it gives you an edge over others. At the same time, it introduces risk for the leadership. But I think we're out of the weeds now. So 10 years ago in crypto, there was Bitcoin talk forums. I basically was on IRC chat rooms, talking to other anonymous people. We're kind of past that point of cypherpunks, spies sneaking around in the back streets of Ghana, right? And I like to think that to enter this real world, to integrate into society, you need to be doxed and just prove that you're taking it seriously. Otherwise you're just some kids in a garage building a project, and you're not putting your face to it. So I think there's that kind of integrity that we're trying to do as well.
John, you really hit me with that one, with a very common first name, very common last name. My name's Alex Cooper. Good luck finding me on Facebook, you guys. It's not going to happen. Dan, what do you have to add? What questions do you ask a team? Do you think they should be doxed, and what do you consider a red flag?
Yeah, we generally prefer doxed, though there are certain situations where we understand it can be a little bit more sensitive. But generally, we look at very similar to what John said, is we look at the track record of the team. We do a lot of DD on what they've produced previously, and actually one thing that we like is seeing teams that have had failures in the past. And then how they recovered from these failures, how they moved on from these failures, and how they learned from these failures. And for us, that shows resilience. Knowing the cycles in crypto, everyone is really excited and really passionate until things go to near zero, and then a lot of people kind of disappear, or go off the beaten trail for a while. And it's the teams that have the perseverance to keep building, keep iterating, adapt their product quickly, ship often, ship fast, and ship incrementally, to kind of keep pivoting with market demands, are the ones that succeed. And so we'll look for past products that they've shipped. We'll look for past successes and failures specifically, and then we'll look at the type and the type of team that they've constructed around them. There's so much of, from my perspective, gaming is down to individual taste, and there's kind of something for everyone. And so, we're very focused on like game genres, but like what makes a game good and not good and what'll take off, like, it's hard to judge just the art and everything objectively. And so we'll come down to basics of like, cool, are they good at making product market fit? Right? Does the team have the ability to keep shipping? And lastly, we'll look at the type of support do they have. Do they have the right individuals either in the team or advisors or investors that can give them all the support they need, or the network they need to fully capitalize on the opportunities in this space.
I can't say any more than that too. Like, I agree with you. So many times now that I've been in this space for a while now, and seen the background of what goes on in projects and stuff, it typically you find most what people call rug pulls or whatever is a failure of the team to be able to work together, to work through issues, to work through a bear market, and it causes that inner turmoil and then the failure of the project in the end. And it's a horrible thing to see, but you see it so much that your real first basis should be a very, very strong team that is able to work through anything that they come across and be able to conquer, overcome what they need to do, and somebody from every genre to just kind of push in different directions. If they need to go in that different direction to make it work, they're able to do that. And I think the big thing is a very, very strong team. And the same thing when it comes to knowing the team. I think it's very, very important. I think even if it's KYC'd in the background and you do know who the team is, or whoever is funding the project knows who the team is, so that there's no way of them getting away with something bad in the end, because that's what you see with a lot of these scam projects. They won't allow themselves to be known, or nobody knows who they are. They're not willing to go through a KYC or do anything. Well, it's a very simple process, and it doesn't mean that your name needs to get out to everybody, but it needs to be to the people that are helping fund your project, or do what they're doing with your project to make it move forward.
Yeah, another interesting thing we're running our project is a lot of people requested that our liquidity be locked, and this is a bit of a contentious point in the community. Basically, why do we need to lock? We, the creators, need to lock our liquidity, and the answer is apparently rug pulls. So if we lock our liquidity, there's no way we can rug anyone. But on the flip side of that, we basically said, hey, we're doxed. You can come find me if you want. That's probably a bigger risk to me than just locking away my liquidity. In the end, we decided to please everyone. We locked our liquidity and we're doxed. So best of both worlds, I guess. And everyone's happy.
Everyone knows where to bring the torches and pitchforks.
That's the thing. I hate these renounce contracts and stuff. I know you're not doing that, but people that always suggest to renounce a contract so that the community, the developers can't do anything, like it's useless. If you're going to move forward as a project, you need to be able to use some of that stuff to be able to build what you need in the future too.
Yeah, like renouncing ownership of contract means suddenly no one can help you. The builders of the project cannot administrate the project. It's pretty cool if you have a really finished, really mature project. I think Uniswap did it. They basically deployed it, just walked away, renounced it, and they just built the front end against the contracts. We're in this weird hybrid world of GameFi, right? We got we're a centralized company. We work with decentralized systems. We make centralized decisions, but we also share our opinions and also receive feedback. There's a middle ground. There's no room for decentralized extremists anymore, I think.
I agree.
Great, you guys. So I just got one more question left, and we're going to bring it up to the audience. I've been seeing it all night. I'm going to say it again. Thank you to everybody listening to our Twitter space today. I really appreciate having you guys here, listening to our guests, listening to like this. I have a great time talking about this. This is one of my favorite topics. I'm just glad you guys are here to enjoy it with us, and again with the great speakers Scott, John, and Dan. I'm having a great time. So my last question is, I want to know about you, what you guys are doing. What games are you playing right now, and what's attracting you to this game, and why? Scott, are you playing any games right now?
You know, I own some stuff in different games. Like I was telling you, I think the day before, I own some land in that bigtime.gg. I own some land in that. And I mean, I'm watching some of the different projects and stuff. Right now, honestly, I'm holding back with everything that I have as much as possible to see what's happening with the markets. I didn't exit fully, so I'm still in certain things or whatever, so I'm just sitting back watching. But I'd love to hear what these two gentlemen have to say for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I let you two speak, I just want to give you guys a reminder. You know, of course, this is not financial advice. We're just, remember, do your own research. We're just talking about projects that, we like and why. So, John, what, besides Supremacy, what you've been playing?
I can talk traditional gaming too, right?
Yeah, I don't mind.
I've been spending hours and hours every night playing Elden Ring. I'm a big Souls fan. I finished all the Souls. I'm currently dying constantly to Millennia. I enjoy the shared suffering that Souls players have. You go to the wiki and you everyone's just bitching about how hard the bosses are. So that's kind of what I've spent my entire evenings for the past few months on. Outside of that, I enjoy games that
10:30s.
I enjoy the large scale team games. I was complaining before about automatic matchmaking, and there's a game I play, Squad, which is a kind of large scale military sim where you're basically playing 50 players against 50 players, radio communications, and trying to basically herd cats. Your squad is very hard to tell them what to do, and it kind of simulates the pure chaos of a true player-to-player driven game. So yeah, those two games are probably taking up most of my time these days.
I forgot Fishing Planet. If somebody builds a game like this, I'm telling you, a crypto game, I'm all in. I'll throw all my money at and play it 100%. I'm
classic Canadians. Loving their fishing.
Oh, I've never was a big fishing person. Like I used to love the older style games. I was telling a friend earlier, there's one system a long time ago. It was like Bass Pro or whatever. I used to love it, but this Fishing Planet is like next level crazy. And if you added something like cryptocurrency to it, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and now Dan, I'm curious. I'm really curious. What are you playing anything right now?
Yeah, I mean, so I play a few traditional Web 2 games, but I think if we just focus on Web 3 games, I'd say one that I'm playing now, and it's called Karmaverse. It's basically like Candy Crush, right, or Bejeweled even before that, and it's something that I do to kill time, like usually in between meetings, 5-10 minutes here or there. This is my version of a hyper casual game. So that I play Karmaverse. It's a game that we've rolled out to 3,000 or 4,000 scholars in Southeast Asia at YGGC. Another one is man, and actually I wanted to ask you guys your opinion on Steppen. I know it's probably going to be a little controversial.
Well, I was gonna talk about them in a question, but then I read the news. So I do have a shoe.
So I personally opted out of Steppen, and I'm playing Walken. It's a little bit. I mean, it's somewhat similar in that you move, but you move and not earn directly. It's a little. For me, it was a little too like human proof of work, like human mining, right? Like you move and we're going to pay you to move, right? And I get that there's this utility about encouraging exercise and everything, but for me, there wasn't much more gameplay than that because it's not really a game, right? And I think they've come out and said it's not a game. So I've been playing Walken. which is another game that we're rolling out to about 2,000 to 3,000 scholars, and it takes it a bit further than that. I guess it's a walk to play, and then you spec these little cathletes that you have, and these cathletes, depending on like the race conditions, and like it's basically like, it's almost like Pegasus or horse racing, in that like the racetrack and the conditions and how you spec your cathlete gives you a better chance at winning these like head-to-head races with other cathletes. And so it's kind of cool. I like that one because it encourages me to move a little bit more. Yes, and then because there's an actual gameplay and strategy of like, okay, this meta right now is like hyper about like endurance, but I'm spec'd for strength. Should I swap my cathlete and items for another cathlete and then spec for strength? Or do I go for something more balanced and then use like a boost in game to like, anyways. So Walk-in is one that I'm playing. Karmaverse is one that I'm playing. But we have Big Time, we have Phantom Galaxies. I think these are ones that we're looking forward to. Though again, it's still pretty early. Oh, and Crypto Unicorns. We like Crypto Unicorns just because it's pretty freaking cute.
Yeah, for me, guys, Web3. I just been playing Splinterlands. I don't know why that game's got me hooked. It's fun for me. Web2 wise, I'm still on the league with the boys, and we've been playing Call of Duty. But I gotta limit myself to how much Call of Duty I play, because I don't like the person I become when I play Call of Duty. But yeah, no, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I've quite liked just I like car turn-based games. I like auto chess. Been playing a lot of TFT actually, so Splinterlands goes in with that as well. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. And you know what, you guys, we've ran up all the questions. So audience, anybody here listening, if you guys want any questions for any of our speakers about GameFi, or you guys have any opinions you'd like to add, I mean, we've been running this now for an hour and 40 minutes, you guys. It hasn't felt like it's been that long at all. The conversation's been awesome. I've been really, really enjoying it. But yeah, I guess now the floor is open for anybody if they want to come up and ask anything. Other than you guys, we can still keep chatting, go doing it from there. But yeah, maybe in the next 10 minutes I'll leave it open, and then yeah, we can just shoot the breeze. In the meantime,
I was gonna say I had a really great conversation with you guys. I appreciate it so much. Is it 10:42 at night my time right now? But I mean, Dan, John, hopefully I can meet you in the future. I do a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of networking with BigONE and Andy Lin. So I mean, if you guys are ever open to come over and maybe shoot a YouTube interview or do anything like that, I'd love to see you guys again and see Footprint Analytics, Mr. Cooper himself over there. I'd involve him in it as well. Like, I really think it's important to build a stronger network and a stronger community as well. So hopefully I can see you guys again in the future too as well.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I mean, I like to think that I look back at my young impressionable self in the old days, and I was driven by ideology about how Bitcoin was going to topple societies and replace governments. And I like to think that I mellowed out a bit, but underneath, I'm still driven by the love of what this kind of stuff has given us. Therefore, I love talking about this shit, and I'll talk about it with you as much as you want. You can't stop me. Thanks, man.
yeah, guys, I hate to say it, I've become that guy at the party. GameFi? Oh, buddy. No beer pong, GameFi only. That's what we're talking about. So, yeah, I can agree. I could talk about this stuff all day. Dan, you got anything you'd like to add?
No, just repeating what Scott said. It's a pleasure talking to you guys. Yeah, if there's questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, this is a passion of mine, right? Like, gaming's a passion of mine. Web3 crypto is a passion of mine, and like getting to do this for a living is it's fun.
No, it's been great. I mean, you guys have been here now for an hour and 45 minutes. No one's come up to ask anything. So, I'll let you to it, Scott. I know it's late. You're an hour ahead of me. So I'll let you get back to it. at your hockey tournament. John, thanks for coming up, adding your opinions. It was great discussion, and you too, Dan. Really well. I love hearing your answers. They're really well thought out, really concise, Dan. So overall, this conversation has been a really good one. And for my first Twitter space we've organized, I couldn't have had a better convo, a better start. So you guys are inspiring me to get more, and thank you so much. If there's any other closing things you guys want to say, go ahead. Other than that, I'll probably just wrap her up. Okay, well, you guys, thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you later, and hopefully we'll see you around soon.
I was just going to say,
all my listeners and audience, thank you guys for coming. You guys are the best. We can't do tour spaces without our audience. Mark, I want to give you a shout out. I've seen you here since the very beginning. That's been awesome. Tony, Shelly, Leslie, Connie, Hewitt Jr., Natalia, everybody that's in here, Duke, Kimberly, Scott, I'm calling you all out. Eric, Karate, AJ, Easton, thank you guys for coming up here. Oh, I got one last request, and we're ending it. Hey, go ahead if you got anything to add, or any questions. I'm sorry about your name, buddy. I'm going to butcher it. Egwad.
No, it's no problem. Okay, good morning, everybody. All right.
Morning.
Yeah, I just want to ask, going by the events in recent times of Luna, and the launching of a new project under Luna, what's the future of Luna? Because I had some in my Binance, and I just woke up to realize everything has gone down to zero.
I would
unfortunately,
say, yeah, we
Eddie,
can't talk.
Yeah, we can't talk about that one, unfortunately.
I'm just going to say one really quick thing or whatever is just, nobody can predict the future. Nobody can predict the price. You just got to sit back and watch and see what happens. But I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Also, I would like to volunteer for any projects on ground. I could volunteer as a Telegram admin. I could also volunteer as a Telegram admin to help, or probably Twitter to promote the project. Volunteer,
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Eddie. And two, again, I forgot to mention this earlier as well. Everybody listening, give Scott Tripp a follow. Give John Nguyen, sorry, John, butcher your name too, buddy. Give John a follow. Give Dan a follow. Let's follow Supremacy Gaming. Follow YGGC, and of course follow BigONE. We can't do these great spaces without great speakers. So everyone give them a follow. And Eddie, I appreciate you being here, buddy, asking the question, and we're wrapping it up. Thank you guys, and I hope to talk and see you guys soon. Thank you.
Have a good one, you guys. See you, and just continue to build strong communities. That's what it's about.
No worries. See you all around.